Hey guys, it's Carl Brown from GuitarLessons365.com. Today we're going to tackle a monster, and Justice for All by Metallica, highly requested, but a long one. It's going to be a long lesson. I'm going to divide this into two videos. So this first one we're going to take care of pretty much everything up to the guitar solo. So we have a lot of riffs and we have a lot of harmony guitar parts too. So we're in standard tuning here, and I have a little clean setting, clean tone. And we're going to go through this intro here. So I have this section that I just played. Now let me just kind of show you what's going on here. We're going to start with the low E open, 7 on the A, 6 on the D. You play across those three strings, then play 7, 9 on the D. So you have that melody on the D string. Then back to the 7 on the A, back to the 7 on the D, and then do a quick little trill between 6 on the D, hammer on 7, pull back off to 6. So we have this. All right. From there, you're gonna make sure you're muting the low E string there, maybe with your thumb, and then we have this. So that is 5 on the. It's basically the same thing. You just move down 2 frets here. Play those 2 notes only, 4 and the 5, then 5 twice on the D string. Back to the 4 and 5, so we have this. Then grab the 7th fret there, it's kind of a stretch on the D string, and then back to the 4 and the 5, so we have this. All together so far? Alright, now let's take that down 2 more frets. So that same major third shape, we're going to move down to the second fret on the D and 3rd on the A. So this time though, kind of going to do it the same that we did here. Except you're not going to have the low E string in. It's just these 2 strings. And then, so just this here. Alright, from there we have this. So that's a little bit easier, not much of a stretch anymore. We have just the 2nd fret there on the A with the open D. Then pick the 2nd fret on the D string twice. Then back to the 2 and 0. Back to the 2nd fret on the D. And then back to the 2 and the 0. So you can see the melody note's always on the D string throughout this intro. So we have this. All right, and now we're going to play kind of the same thing. Now what I'm doing there, I'm at the 1st fret now on the A string, and the open D with it. Then the 2nd fret again twice on the D. Then back to the 1 and 0. And then you're going to pick the 2nd fret on the D and 2nd fret on the G. And end it with the power chord off the 1st fret of the A string. So it's 1st fret on the A, it's 3rd on the D. All together. And then just repeat that, the exact same thing. And then we start having some harmony guitar lines on top of that, and it also adds some kind of crunch distortion towards the end of the riff. So let me just kind of show you what's going on. We basically have the bottom harmony line. It looks like this. And so what's going on there? So let's go back to the harmony, the clean part. So that's 6, 7, 9 on the D, over to 9 on the G. Then back to the 9 on the D. And then 4, 5 on the D. And then slide into 7 on the G, hammer 7 and 9, and back to 7. So. And then back down here, which is the same thing you did here. except now at the 2nd fret. All right, so all together for that harmony line. And then out of that, he goes into the crunch, which would be just basically the taking the ending of the intro and just playing them always as just basically the whole dyad, both notes at the same time. So 2 on the A, 0 on the open D, and then add the 2nd fret there on the open D with it. So you always hit in 2 strings, really palm muted. So we have, basically I'm just going to call out the note on the D string because that's the only thing that's changing. So we have 0, 2, 2, 0, 2, 0. So you hear that. And then do the same thing pretty much just with the 1st fret there on the A string. Except on the last one, add that 2nd fret on the G and into that same power chord. All right, so we have the high harmony part, which is also in a clean setting, but it sounds like this. And then into the same little crunch rhythm. So we have 9 on the D to the G, 11, slide to 13, back to 11. Then 7 on the D and the G, slide into 11, hammer to 12, back to 11. All right, now 5th fret across the D to the G, 7, slide to 9, 7. So all together for that harmony part. And then into the same. All right, so now we move along. We have a kind of a big harmonized part 2, and we have a crunch rhythm based on the chords we played in the intro. So that sounds like this. All right, so that's definitely the main part there. So it's the same chords. We were doing that melody, but you're always keeping the 7th fret there on the A string. So we have this. The 6th on the D, 7 on the D, into the 9th fret there on the D. Remember, always holding that 7 on the A. So I'm muting the first couple. And then back to this 7th fret on the D, and then that little kind of trill. And then now down 2 frets, the 5 on the A. So the 5 is always going to stay there on the A string. And you're going to have the 4, 5, 5, 5, 4, 7, 4. So that little 16th note in there. So we have this. So it sounds like just with the melody note. All right, then take that down 2 frets, and we have this. So that's just like the same phrasing. Same thing. So it's kind of similar. And then we're to that same little chorus. So this is similar to the little crunch rhythm that came after the harmony part. Same chords, except you have a little 16th note burst in there. All right, so there is a harmony part, a couple, like 3 harmony parts going on top of that. Really the most important thing is just really the top line, so I'll show you that. It goes with that part you just learned, and it sounds like this. All right, so that's the one you're gonna hear the most, but it's very low in the mix. The main part is that part we did earlier. So we have this. Kind of just picking through an E major triad. Just 9 on the D, G to B, and then back down. Same thing now on the D. But it's a little bit different pattern. 7 on the D, 7 on the G, and then we'll click a little 16th note on the B string, just to match in the rhythm, and then G, then back to the B, and back to the G. All right, now down to the 5th fret, and that was the same as the one at the 9th fret. And then we have this. That's 0, 2 on the D, 4th fret twice on the G string, back to the 2nd fret on the D, 4, 2. And then kind of the same thing, except you're just replacing the 4th fret with the 3rd fret. And then you're gonna do this. See how I caught that little, changed that little bass note. 3rd fret on the D, and then 3, 5, 7. So yeah, these little harmony parts are always kind of hard to follow. So we have a distinct riff coming up now, so it's going to be a lot more fun to play this part and learn this part. So let's take a look at this. This is pretty much, you can call it the transition riff. Sounds like this. Yeah, that one's fun. All right, so what's going on there? You start at the 6th fret power chord off the low E string, and then you play 6, 5, and then 6, 5, 4, and then 6, 5, 4, 3. So there's just all power chords. All right, and then we have so that's this. That's 3 on the D and the G together. These are all fourths that he's playing across. So we had this. So 3 across the D and the G, the 2, and the open. Then grab the 3 across the A and the D. So that's the first 4. Then 2 across the D and the G, the open D and G, and then 3, 2 on the A and the D. So everything's kind of like. All right, from there, go back to the open D and the G, and then 3 across the A and the D, 2 across those 2 strings, and the open A and the open D. So far. And you're gonna 3, 2 there that you just played across the A and the D. So we have this. All right, now we're gonna play some quarter notes. That's just the 3rd fret across the A and the D, then the 2nd fret, and then the open, down to the 3s now of the low E and the A string together. And we're gonna speed up again. There's a lot of heavy palm muting in this section, obviously. So we had this 2 across the A and the D, open, and then 3 across the low E and the A string, then down to 2. Then the open A and D, and you're gonna end it with the bottom 2 strings, 3, 2, the open, into a straight E power chord. So we have this. All right, so now we've kind of made it to what I think is the main riff of the song. It just keeps occurring. So it starts like this. After a long pause on the open E, we have this. Basically do that 4 times. So the riff actually starts with this part, but they go into it by playing the ending real quick. So that's the power chord here at the 6th fret of the low E string, twice, heavily palm muted, into the 5th fret there. The 6s are always muted there. And then we have really where the riff would start. So we have this low E open, hammer 5 to 7 on the A, Pick that 7 again, and do a little quarter step bend. And then the 7th fret there on the low E string. And then the same thing right there, but we only do it once, and then we're back to that riff again. And then we add that ending twice again. So we have this. So that's basically one time through the riff, and then you just do that 4 times. Yeah, so just double that. All right, so now coming out of that, we're gonna have a little, see what comes out of that, a little harmony section. Once again, a little harmonized guitar part, not as complex as before. It looks like this. This is the top line. All right, so that would be probably Kirk Hammett's part. So that's a bend at the 14th fret on the G, and then kind of a bend and release a couple of times on the 14th fret. So then 12, and then 11 twice, over to 14 on the D. Same thing again. And then this ending is, so that's just this, 11 twice on the D, G string, sorry. Over to 12 on the D, and then 11, 12 on the G, to 14 on the D. So we have this. Repeat. And this second ending is going to be, start with the same thing, but it's going to end with 10 twice on the D to 9. All right, so probably Hetfield's part would be this. All right, so that's just kind of the same thing, a half step bend with the 11th fret on the G, then a couple bend and release to 9 on the G, and then we had this 10 twice on the D to 9, and then again, and then we're gonna have 10 twice on the D, over to 12 on the D, that's 12 on the A, and then 10, 12, 9 on the D. So far. Then repeat. And this last ending is just going to be this, which is that 10 twice on the D to 9, and then the same thing here at the 8th fret on the A string, down to 7. All right, so now coming out of that, we just go back. Let me see what we do here. We go back to the verse. I'm sorry, we go back to the all right, now coming out of that though, we're gonna have a little little ending there that we didn't have before. So coming out of that riff, we're gonna have this. So that's the same as before, but instead of doing that twice there, you do it once, and then you're gonna have the power chord 3 of twice at the 3rd fret, and then the 2nd fret, and then pull off to the open. All right, so now we're getting to this little transition which comes right before the verse. All right, so that is just a kind of so that's just kind of grooving on the low E chord, and then into the 1st fret, and then back to the low E, and then that same ending. At the very end, before the vocals come in, instead of going this, he does this. Just hangs out on that 6th fret there, and and goes down. Now the verse is very similar to that riff we just played. It's just a little bit more opened up. So it's like this. Takes us to the pre-chorus there. So that is just really just an opened up version. You know, so kind of let the notes ring out a little bit more. But we do have that little ending there that you need to kind of get into, which is like this. So with it. So that is just the open E string. Let me just play it for you real quick. So we had this open low E, then the 7th fret on the A string twice, and then the low E open twice, then the 5th fret on the A to the 3rd fret on the low E. All right, from there we get to the pre-chorus, which is a fun one to play. It sounds like this. That goes into the chorus there. So that is based off the F sharp power chord here. So you hit the power chord 2nd fret off the low E string power chord. And then you just kind of chug on that a little bit. Then we have this. So that's just, you're going to be just using these 2 fingers there across the A string and the D. 5th fret, slide down to 4. To 2. Then slide into 5 a couple times. Back to 4. So we have this. Again. Now this 3rd time you're doing this little melody, it's similar. Instead of doing that slide into 5 twice, go up the 7th fret there on those 2 strings. Then back to the power chord, kind of chugging on it. So slowly. Then we have this. So that's the open G, hammering on 5 to 7. Same thing on the D string. Same thing on the A. And then hit that open A again. Hammer 2, 3. All right, and then it would kind of repeat the same thing again, kind of just going back to the same. And then twice on this little. And then we get to the chorus, which sounds like this. Back to that main riff. All right, so let's take a look at that. This is a fun one. So we start with this. All right, so we have the low E open. I'm using these 2 fingers a little bit easier. It's the 3rd fret on the A and the D. Slide down to 2, then the open string. Slide into 2 to 3 a couple times. So 3, 2, 0, 2 to 3, A power chord, B power chord, which is just the power chord off the second fret of the A string, of the 3, then 1 on the low E string. So coming out of that, kind of chugging on the low E, do that same riff. This time go A, B, or open A to the second fret, and then just, so you skip that 3rd fret chord. Same thing. This time open A, the B power chord, over to the G power chord, which is the 3rd fret of the low E string, then the 3rd fret off the A string power chord, and back to that 1st fret on the low E. So, all right, and that takes us back through all the same riffs go through again, happening in the same way. So there's nothing new until we get to the solo. So I'm going to start the next video with the solo and then take care of all the harmony parts coming out of that. I'll see you then.